Hi, my name is James. Welcome to Active Church. I'm so glad you're here. We exist to be active in our faith and our love for others. Sunday gatherings are filled with fun, creative, and life-giving moments. If this is your first time here, grab the guest card in the seat back and take it to the lobby to receive a free gift. Coffee is also available in the cafe. You'll be with us for about an hour, and we want to invite you to join in with us, sing, laugh, and engage in this service. Feel free to take pictures, check in on social media, and share posts about Active Church. In fact, we'd love for you to take out your cell phone and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Active Churches. If you have little ones, check out Active Kids just across the way in our family building for a fun, safe environment for your kids to learn and grow. There's even a cry room for parents with newborns and infants to enjoy the live stream and the service as well. Thanks for joining in with us. We'll begin in just a few moments.
Just because I'm losing doesn't mean I'm lost. Doesn't mean I'll stop. Doesn't mean I wouldn't cross. Just because I'm hurting doesn't mean I'm hurt. Doesn't mean I didn't get what I deserve. No better and no worse. I just got lost. Every river that I tried to cross, every door I ever tried was lost. Oh, and I'm just waiting for the sun to wear off. You might be a big fish in a little pond. Doesn't mean you run, for along may come a bigger one, and you'll be loved. Every river that you try to cross, every gun you ever held went off, and I'm just waiting for the sound to wear off. Oh, and I'm just waiting for the sound to wear off. Hey! Oh, and I'm just waiting for the sound to wear off. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the sound to wear Just because I'm losing doesn't mean I'm lost. Doesn't mean I'll stop. Doesn't mean I wouldn't cross.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Active Church. Let's all stand together as we begin to worship God this morning. We're so glad that you're here. Will you put your hands together with us like this? Here we go. Let's sing. Hope erupting, darkness shaking, faith is rising. We know, we know, we know. Heartbeat racing, living in your freedom, joy overflowing. We know, we know, we know, we know, we know, we know. Say, and our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free, you are with us. Church is alive, the church is alive. Come on. Passion burning, vision growing. The church declaring. We know, we know, we know, we know, we know, we know. That our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free, you are with us. The church is alive, the church is alive. Sing it again. And our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive, the church is alive. Here we go. Come on, let's get this hands up. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. Say, this is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. Here we go. And our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free, you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. One more time. And our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free, you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. Say, this is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, Active Church. My name is Joe Valenzuela. I'm one of the pastors here at Active.
Hi, my name's Kylie, and welcome to Active Church.
We are so excited that you are here with us this morning and joining online as well. Let's give it up for our online audience right now. Well, 2 weeks ago, we sent a team of 18 to the Niño Cibaja Orphanage in El Porvenir, Mexico. And in doing so, we organized a big shoe drive, and that came from this young child. So, hey, Kylie, why did you want to organize a shoe drive?
Well, I wasn't able to go to Mexico, so I came up with an idea to start a shoe drive for all the kids in Mexico who don't have shoes.
And how many pairs of shoes were donated?
Over 200 pairs of shoes.
200 pairs! That was through our Active Kids and you, Active Church. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being generous. Kylie, is there anything else you want to tell the church today?
Thank you for donating and thank you for providing hope.
Let's give it up for our Active Kids one more time. So many awesome things happening here at Active Church. If it's your first time here today, we want to say welcome. We're so glad you have joined us this morning. In the back of your seats, there's a red card. I would love if you filled that out with as much information as you feel comfortable giving us. And through those back doors, we have 5 Guest Central locations. Take that card to one of those Guest Central locations, and we want to hook you up with some free Active Church merch, just to say thank you for being with us this morning. But hey, let's do this. We're a big family here. We're a big church. Let's stand up. Let's greet each other with a handshake, hug, and a high five, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Church, let's keep singing together. Here in my heart, you have found a place, replacing fear with your freedom. You lift me up, you lift me up. When all seems lost in my brokenness, I call your name and you answer. Held by your love, held by your love.
storm surrounding me, let it break. At your name, still call the sea to still, the rage in me to still, every wave. At your name, sing. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. And Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, breathe, call these bones to live, call these lungs to sing once again. I will praise. And Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, sing that out again. And Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. And Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Come on, sing your name, every voice. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. And your name will not be overcome. Your name is a light forever lifted high. And your name will not be overcome. Sing Jesus. And Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Church, this is your chance. Lift your hands, lift your voices to sing Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And Jesus, Jesus. Your name, come on. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. And your name will not be overcome. Sing it out, come on. And your name is a light forever lifted high. Your name will not be overcome. Sing out your name. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name will not be overcome. Your name, your name is a light forever lifted high. Your name will not be overcome. Jesus, and Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Come on, lift up this leg. Jesus. Amen. Active Church, so great to worship with you this morning. Right now, go ahead and have a seat and check out the screen.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Active Church. My name is Megan.
And I'm Casey, and we want to thank you for joining us today in service and online as well.
We are so excited to see you today. If this is your first time here, we've got a special gift for you.
Yes, grab that first-time guest card and take it to any of our Guest Central locations on campus, and we will hook you up with some active merch, as well as a download card for our new EP, This Is For Love.
It is so good.
Yes.
Also located in your seat backs are our all-in cards and baptism cards.
Yes, and we've got some opportunities we want to share with you, so check it out. First Step is just around the corner, again on May 6th. If you're a first timer here or have been here for a while but never attended First Step, we would love to have you join us.
Here's Pastor Mike Frisch to tell you more about it.
Hey, my name's Mike. I'm one of the pastors at Active Church, and we want to invite you to First Step. First Step is a free lunch with free childcare and an opportunity to learn about Active Church. We have a unique DNA, and we want you to hear about it, we want you to know about it, and we would love for you to be a part of Active Church. And First Step is the best way to get involved. Join us for lunch, for childcare, and for an opportunity to hear the great story of what God is doing at Active Church.
If you've already completed First Step, there's always a chance to jump into Next Steps, which will allow you to go deeper into what we believe as a church and how you can get plugged into serving here at Active.
Our next group of Next Steps classes begins May 15th at 10:45. That's during our second service, and we think Next Steps is so important
Super
that
important.
you have permission to skip service to be a part of it.
For more info about First Step and Next Steps, feel free to talk to one of our activators at any of our Guest Central locations around campus.
Next weekend, something super amazing and exciting is coming to Active Kids.
It's Superhero Sunday!
That's right. It's time to invite your friends, family, and neighbors with little ones to Superhero Sunday right here at Active Church.
Yes, we're gonna have superheroes on site to take pictures with and interact with your kids. So join us for popsicles, and your kids are gonna have an opportunity to dress up as their favorite superhero. It's gonna be awesome.
So fun. Lastly, we're in the midst of a giving campaign that we are calling A Better Story. And last week, Pastor Mike shared with us about the future of our church.
This included updates to our Yucaipa campus, as well as a new Active Church location coming this fall. And we want you to continue to be a part of this better story by grabbing one of the commitment cards in your seat back and consider partnering with us in this vision.
We hope you'll prayerfully consider being a part of Active and continue giving in this way as we partner together to continue to grow our church.
Right now, our leaders are coming forward and you will receive a communion stack with a cracker and a cup of juice.
If this is your first time in a setting like this, please don't feel pressured to take communion with us today.
For the rest of you, remember that we take communion to recognize Jesus' sacrifice and love for us.
Please feel free to participate by taking communion as soon as you receive the bread and the juice.
When you are finished, you can find a cup holder near the bottom of your seat in front of you to place your empty cup.
Thanks for being with us today. Our services will continue in just a moment.
Right now in the room, they're practicing what we call communion. It's a great unifying moment, and it's a way that we honor Jesus. And while they're doing that, we just wanted to tell you what happens throughout the week here at Active Church. Tuesday night is Active Youth, ages 6th grade to 12th grade. And it's an incredible night of small groups, big time worship, big time message, and a great way to join a community. If you're interested, we'd love for you to come and hang out with us. Small groups start at 6 p.m. and they run till 7 p.m. And then our big group time starts at 7 p.m. And we'd love for you to come and hang out with us. Again, 6th grade to 12th grade. Also throughout the week and all over the Yucaipa area and surrounding cities, we have connection groups. These are groups from 8 to 12 people. They gather together, they discuss things, talk about things, engage with God and with others. They eat together. It's a great way to find your fam, your crew, your community, and we would love for you to jump into a connection group here at Active Church. Well, good morning, Active Church. How you feeling this morning? It is great to be with you. Honor that you would take some time to join us this weekend, either in the room or online. It was great to sing with you this morning, and I just want to publicly apologize to this front section over here. If it sounded like there were dying cats, it was probably me because I was singing really loud. So I'm just loving the fact that we get to join each other and hang out with each other and be a part of a great church where God is moving. And so thanks so much for being here today. We are in a series called 4-Letter Words. And we all use words that are appropriate. And if we're going to be honest this morning, we all use 4-letter words that are not so appropriate, right? And they express great joy or they express great sorrow. But there are 4-letter words that are found in the pages of the scripture that Jesus talks about, that his followers talk about, that describe how we follow Jesus and describe how we move through life. Words like obey, and fear, and hell, and today's 4-letter word, lost. And so to get started, I want to start with a question for all of us, okay? And the question is this: how many of you have ever lost something of great value to you and nobody was looking for it but you? How many of you have ever lost something of great value to you and nobody was looking for it but you? Raise your hand. Yeah, all of the anxiety in the room rose just a little bit, didn't it? Don't you hate that when you lose something of great value and you're searching for it and you're having to move family members out of the way because they're sitting on the couch cushion where you think your cell phone is, and you're having to move them out of the way? And there's only really 2 appropriate responses to that. There's the passive-aggressive response where you go, well, I guess nobody loves me, right? Because nobody's looking for it but you. And then everybody goes, oh, are you looking for something? Or there's the aggressive response, which means that you just start yelling and telling everybody to get up, and nobody gets to do anything until they find your phone, right? Or maybe that's just how it is in my house. I'm not sure. But have you ever lost something of great value to you, and nobody was looking for it but you? And it's a scary moment, isn't it? It's a nerve-wracking moment. It's a fearful moment. You start doing the, oh my gosh, I lost something Macarena, right? I don't know where I put that. And then you always have somebody that asks you, well, where did you put it last? And you respond with, well, if I knew that, I would have it currently. I would have looked there. And you're searching and you're searching and you're searching. And it's an uncomfortable feeling. It's a feeling. It's a nerve-wracking feeling. And then when it becomes something of even greater value, not just material value, but maybe it's a person. Maybe you were grocery shopping and you turned around and somebody was missing, or maybe you were at a park and you looked up and couldn't find your kids. And you immediately had this heart-filled anxiety moment. You couldn't catch your breath because everything else didn't matter in that moment. You needed to find what you lost. Are you with me? Do you feel that? The anxiety that you might feel if you go back to that moment, the nerves that you might feel if you go back to that moment, the thoughts that are rushing through your head in that moment, I want you to bring those back in this moment, and I just want you to hang on to it for a moment, because we're going to come back to this question in a little bit. We're Active Church, and we believe in Jesus. In fact, we like Jesus around here. Didn't know if you knew that or not, but we like Jesus around here. We believe in Jesus. We believe that he came as a human, that he lived a selfless, sinless life, that he died on the cross for the sins of the world, was buried, was put in a tomb for 3 days, and then resurrected from the grave 3 days later. But not only do we believe in Jesus, but we believe Jesus. We believe in his words. We believe in his actions. We trust him. And anybody that can predict their death and resurrection and actually do it, we believe that you should probably pay attention to them. And Jesus brings forgiveness and brings salvation and brings new life. And it's Jesus that spoke life over us. And there are some in the room and watching online that know exactly what I'm talking about. And there are some in the room that are watching online that are interested or intrigued by that. The fascinating thing about Jesus is you don't have to believe in him or even believe him to like him. There have been people over centuries that were nothing like him, but they liked him. Mohandas Gandhi, really famous leader that maybe you are aware of, he had this famous quote about Christ and about Christians, and he said, "I like your Christ, I really do." And then he critiqued us as Christians. He said, "I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ." But Gandhi was intrigued by Jesus. He liked Jesus. In fact, if you go to the pages of the scripture, what you'll find in the stories about Jesus, the true stories about Jesus, is people who were nothing like Jesus. They liked being around him. And maybe you can totally understand what that feels like, because maybe the person that you're dating or the person that you got married to is nothing like you, and yet something clicked. You're a planner, and they're spontaneous. You're an introvert, and they're just loud, right? You're somebody that likes everything organized, and they're somebody that just messes everything up, and yet there's something about your relationship where you just go together. You just work together. You liked them, and they liked you, and something clicked. And there were people who were nothing like Jesus who liked Jesus. And I really believe that it was because of three things that Jesus did. Jesus loved people differently. There wasn't conditions on his love. There wasn't a, if you do this, then I'll do that. Jesus was an unconditional giver of love to everybody, even if they didn't believe in him or believe him. People felt his love. And maybe that's why you're here today, because you've been following Jesus for years, and you have felt his love and experienced his love, and you said yes to his love. Or maybe that's why you're here today or watching online, because you're intrigued by this idea of love, this sacrificial, perfect love that Jesus offers to the world. Jesus prioritized people differently. We prioritize people in really interesting ways. We put people in this category, and these are my people. And then we put people in this category, and these are not my people. All you need to do is just watch the news, and you can figure out who's in what category, right? We're a red and blue country all across the map when it comes to politics. And we seem like we can't interact with each other. We seem like we get upset with each other. We can't agree and still be friends. And yet Jesus didn't do any of that. Jesus prioritized people very differently during his time. And people liked that. People were attracted to that. They were intrigued by that. And Jesus described people differently. He described them differently. We put people in categories like rich and poor, good and bad. But Jesus didn't do any of that. He didn't go around telling people that this is what they are. Here's the label that you're going to wear. In fact, Jesus did a lot of things differently that even people who follow Jesus today are still attracted to, and even people who don't follow Jesus today are intrigued by and interested in. Jesus was likable. And here's the thing about Jesus, is that he would like you. He would like you whether you believe in him or not. And he would invite you to walk the way that he walked, to live the way that he lived, not on your own, but through the power of what's called the Holy Spirit living in you. It was John, who was the closest to Jesus, one of the first followers of Jesus, that wrote that whoever claims to live in Jesus, in him, must walk as Jesus did. As a church, we are a group of people that the writers of the scriptures describe as the body of Christ, that we represent Jesus wherever we go. That's why Gandhi was like, I'm really struggling with those Christians because they're nothing like that Christ. But we are the body of Jesus. We are the church of Jesus. And we represent Jesus wherever we go. And so ultimately, what's true of Jesus personally should be true of us collectively. If we're representing Jesus, who he is personally should reflect in who we are collectively. And the key to walking like Jesus, the key to living this way, the key to us being a group of people that reflect Jesus collectively is found in what stirs the heart of God. Are you familiar with love languages? Are you familiar with, like, this is how somebody hears that you love them? Maybe it's through physical touch, or maybe it's through time spent together, or maybe it's through gift giving, or maybe it's through acts of service. My love language is time spent together, and my love language is words of encouragement, and my love language is physical touch. So if I hug you, it's just because I'm a hugger, all right? My wife, her love language is acts of service. So if I clean the toilets, man, she loves me, okay? And we've discovered what our love languages are in our relationship and our kids' love languages, and it really helps as we communicate that we love them. As followers of Jesus, we want to discover essentially what is the love language of God, what stirs the heart of God, what makes God jump up and down, what gets him excited, because isn't it true that that's what we want to live in? We want to live in that rhythm. We can do a lot of really Christ-like things, but I want to do the things that Jesus does. I want to do the one thing that Jesus does. I want to do the thing that stirs the heart of God. And as a church, we want to do the thing that stirs the heart of God. And there's this moment in the life of Jesus where he communicated and demonstrated what stirs the heart of God. And if you're a Christian in the room, I'm telling you, what we're about to go through, you probably have heard before. But what we're about to walk through, you will want to reorient your life around this one thing. It will be so challenging and inspiring and moving to you that you will want to do only this thing because you want to live to stir the heart of God. You want to walk in step the way that Jesus walks. And if you're not a Christian, what you'll find in this story, this true story of Jesus, is just how much God thinks about you and cares about you. That you're on the forefront of the mind of God. And so I want to take you to a story written by a man named Luke. It's a true story in the life of Jesus. And Luke introduces this story in a very simple way, but it's actually a very important, extraordinary moment in the life of Jesus. And he starts it this way. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear him being Jesus. Now, here's the interesting thing. We all have labels for who we put in whatever category we want to put them in. We all describe people in different ways. And immediately Luke gives us the descriptions of the people who were not thought of in good standing in that time. They were the tax collectors and the sinners. I find it ironic that there's a category for sinners and then there's a category for tax collectors. Nothing's changed, right? You don't want to put the sinners in the tax collector category. Like, they're a little bit better than them, right? But the fascinating thing is at the very end, it says that they were gathering around to hear Jesus. People who were nothing like Jesus, and they were intrigued by him. There was another group that was around during that time. And Luke says the Pharisees and the teachers of the law were near and they muttered. I like that word, by the way. Feel free to use it today. I heard you muttering at lunch today. What were you muttering about? They're talking under their breath. They're looking at who Jesus is sharing a meal with, and they're going, he must not know about their Instagram post from last night. If he saw what they hashtagged, yeah, they say that they were at Christchella, but it was really Coachella, okay? That's really where they were. This man welcomes sinners and eats with them. He eats with them. He sits with them. And immediately you see the prioritization of Jesus. He's sitting at a table with people that weren't like him but liked him, and then the people who, I guess you could say, were like him, weren't near him, and really struggled with him. And it was as if Jesus overheard this conversation, and he just goes into a story. In fact, he goes into 3 stories, and some of you may have heard these stories before. They're very popular in the church. And he shares what's called a parable. And the parable is a false story, an untrue story with true principles. He's making this story up, but he's sharing some true principles. And the point of these stories, the culmination of these stories, is Jesus wants the people, everybody sitting around him, to understand what stirs the heart of God. And he begins this way. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And everybody in the crowd would nod their head and say, yes, that's exactly what he would do. Jesus is affirming that just because you have a lot of unlost things doesn't mean that you just go, I lost this one thing, no big deal. Guys, if your fiance called you and said she lost her engagement ring, but she still has her cell phone, it wouldn't make you go, oh, no big deal, right? I saw this play out in my life when I was 19. I made a very stupid decision. And I feel like all great stories start that way, right? When I was 19, I made a stupid decision. I was in the grocery store, and my mom was there in the produce section, and she had my oldest nephew, Tyler, with her. Tyler was probably 2 at the time. And so I got this brilliant idea, because I'm a jokester, and I thought I'd walk over, I would sneak Tyler out of the grocery cart, and I would tiptoe around the corner and watch the fun happen. Stop judging me, okay? And as I'm tiptoeing around the corner, I realized what you just realized. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Apparently, I don't want my mother to be alive anymore, is the thought that went through my head. And as I'm standing there, I went, this is stupid. And I went to bring Tyler back, but I wasn't quick enough. My mom turned around and immediately went white. Her eyes got big. Her jaw literally hit the floor. And she yelled out, Tyler! And like Usain Bolt in the Olympics, I'm sprinting back, and the only word I could get out of my mouth was, Mama, 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 Mama. And I went over and I handed Tyler to my mom, and you know what she did? She didn't even acknowledge me. She grabbed Tyler and had tears in her eyes and just brought him to her chest. And here I am, I'm like, what about my hug, Mom? What's going on? And she just forgave me last week, and everything's great. So, can you imagine if she turned around, Tyler's missing, and she picked up her cell phone and called my sister-in-law and said, I got good news and I got bad news. Good news is I have my cell phone still. Bad news is I've lost your son. But don't worry, all of my stuff is still here. Lots of unlost things doesn't make up for the one lost thing. And that is what Jesus is tapping into in this moment. And then he says, when he finds it, the sheep that's lost, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and his neighbors together and he says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep. And everybody in the crowd would smile and nod and agree with Jesus. Yes, just because you have a lot of unlost things doesn't make up for the one lost thing. You would leave the unlost things so that you could find the one lost thing. And then Jesus says something really interesting and gets their attention immediately. It's almost uncomfortable what he says. He shares this, that I tell you in the same way, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. You know how you go and look for that one lost thing even though you have a lot of unlost things? Jesus goes, God does the same thing. And then he goes to another story. Next story. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Does she not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And all the ladies in the crowd would be like, yes, she does. In fact, she would tell her husband, get up and help me. That's what she would do. Tell her kids, get up and help me. Let's find this thing. Nobody gets to do anything until we find this. And this silver coin, it's not like she had like the silver coin collection. Some theologians believe that what she's talking about, what Jesus is referencing, is this valuable thing that when it has 9, it's not valuable anymore. It has to have 10. And what Jesus may be referencing is this thing that a woman would give to the man on her wedding day as a way of saying, I am giving myself to you as you give yourself to me. It would be a gift. And a gift with 9 coins is not anything of value, but a gift with 10 has value. And that's why she's frantically looking for this coin that she lost. And Jesus says, and when she finds it, she calls her friends and her neighbors together and says, rejoice with me. Sound familiar? I have found my lost coin. And then Jesus re-emphasizes the thing he just talked about. And in the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing over one sinner who repents. What Jesus wants us to know, what Jesus wants the crowd to know, is when we lose something of great value, we go to great lengths to find it, don't we? He talks about a sheep, talks about a coin, and then if you've been a part of the church for a while, you know what's coming next. If you haven't, he talks about a lost person, a lost son. There's a father who has an older son and a younger son. The older son is staying home and behaving himself. The younger son doesn't want to stay home and behave himself. In fact, he comes to his dad and requests the inheritance that he would get when his father dies. Essentially what he's saying to his dad is, listen, you're not dying quick enough. I wish you were dead, and I want my money. I want you to give me what I'm owed when you're dead. How heartbreaking would that be? How depressing would that moment be for any father who has a son that comes and says to them, I want nothing to do with you? Sure, he was there physically, but the father had lost him relationally. And we're not told the backstory of that. We're just told that this is where they stand. And the father in this moment could actually enact what was a law during that time. In the Torah, the Old Testament, there was a law about how you would respect or disrespect your mom and dad. In Leviticus chapter 20, verse 9, it says, anyone who dishonors his father or his mother must be put to death, and such a person is guilty of capital offense. You know what's funny about this is all the parents in the room went to take a picture of that. They're going to show it to their kids later, all right? Clean your room, right? This law was just to remind how serious they took honor and respect during that time. And so this father could have enacted that law. Son, you cannot dishonor me that way. But the father doesn't do that. In fact, the father loved his son more than he loved his reputation. And the father agrees to let the son go. In fact, he funds the son's going. He gives him what he asked for, because the father was willing to lose his son physically to potentially win him relationally. And maybe some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a relationship that has ended, and you're willing to lose them physically. But in your heart, in your soul, in your mind, you are asking God, could you do a miracle here? Could you win them back? Could you bring them back? It says that when the son leaves, the father just sits on his porch and every day kept his eyes on the road and waited. He was willing to lose him physically to potentially win him back relationally. And maybe you know the story. If you don't, it says that Jesus says that the son goes off and parties. He finds friends, and he finds hotels, and he finds gambling, and he just has a time. And when the money runs out, so did the friends and the parties and the gambling and the hotels. And he finds himself starving, really, really hungry. And so he finds a man who gives him a job, and the job that he gets is to feed the pigs. And any good Jewish person who would have heard that would have gasped as Jesus shared the story, because there's all sorts of technical language that goes into that, but essentially a Jewish person would not be near pigs, let alone feed pigs. And it says that this young man is so hungry that he wants to eat the food that he's feeding the pigs. And then he has this moment of epiphany, this moment of, what am I doing? How did I get here? And he realizes that being connected is greater than being disconnected. He realizes that his dad is at home, and at home was much better than sitting here feeding the pigs. And he has this moment where he goes, man, I'm far from Dad. I don't like that. And I really miss Dad. And I wonder if he misses me. And maybe that's why some of you are here in the room or watching online. Being far from God, whether you've believed in him or haven't believed in him. Being far from God is not a fun place to be, is it? Having a sense that God is distant from you is an empty, hopeless feeling. And then there's the question of, I really miss being around that, or I'm really intrigued being around that. I wonder if God misses me. I wonder if he thinks about me. I wonder if God's eyes are on the road. I wonder if he's waiting for me to come home. And it says the son decides, it says he came to himself, and he decides that he's going to go home. He got up and he went to his father. And this next line is powerful. It says, while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with, and there's a blank space that we have to fill. And listen closely. Whatever you fill that blank space with in your life will be the blank space that you fill in somebody else's life. Your perspective of God will fill that blank space, and you will do the same for somebody else. He was filled with disgust. That's what he was filled with. Because God's disgusted with me. And so as you interact with people who are disconnected from God, you'll have a disgust. He was filled with anger. How could you do that? And if you fill the space in your life that God is angry with you, you will fill that in somebody else's life. You know what he was filled with? He was filled with lectures. That's what he was filled with. He sat me down and said, now, let's have a conversation. And if you think that God would lecture you, then maybe you find yourself with those who are disconnected. You find yourself wanting to lecture them. But Jesus says that while he was a long way off, he saw him and was filled with compassion. Compassion. And it wasn't just a feeling that he had. He had his eyes on the road. But this feeling moved him to action because Jesus says he ran to his son. Which may cause you to go, man, why didn't the father do this before his son left? Why didn't the father run to him then and wrap his arms around him then? Because the father didn't want his son with him physically. The father wanted his son's heart. The father wanted his son to want to be there. Are you with me? The father wanted his son to want to be connected. And he ran to his son because he kept his eyes on the road, because his disconnected son wanted to reconnect. That's why he kept his eyes on the road. If I see my son coming back, I know he'll want to be here. I will lose him physically. Hopefully I can regain him relationally. That's what I want. And so it says, Jesus says, the father runs to him and he throws his arms around him and he kissed him. And all the people in the crowd that are listening would go, wait a second, this is not right. This is not how it should be. The father should punish the son. The father should be angry with the son, not filled with compassion. And Jesus goes, you're right. That's exactly what the father should have done. If you don't know the heart of God. If you don't quite understand what stirs the heart of God. And the son does what you and I do when we've messed things up. He creates a speech and comes up with all sorts of categories that he should be a part of and fall into. And all the things that he's going to do to make it up. He says, Father, I've sinned against you. against heaven and against you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. And the father goes, yeah, I know that you chose to be disconnected, but you are back. I kept my eyes on the road, and you are back, and you are connected. And he says, quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf. Let's have a barbecue. I like the way that this father thinks. I like that a lot. Let's have a feast and let's celebrate. And then Jesus gives us the complete picture of what stirs the heart of God. He says this, "For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost, and now he's found." He was dead, and he's alive again. He was lost, and now he's found. He was disconnected, and now he's connected. He was far away, and now he came home. He wasn't near me physically, but now he's choosing to be near me relationally. Jesus says this stirs the heart of God. People reconnecting with the heart of God is what stirs the heart of God. You want to know God's love language? It's when people who are lost become found. It's when people who are disconnected become reconnected. People connecting with the heart of God is what stirs the heart of God. And the reason why I think people like Gandhi and people who may not believe in Jesus or believe Jesus struggle with the church is because our tendency is to prioritize the 99 over the one. It's to prioritize what we need over what the disconnected need. And what we find in this story from the mouth of Jesus and the behavior of Jesus is that he prioritizes the one over the 99. This has nothing to do with love. It has everything to do with love. It's not Jesus saying that I love them more. It's Jesus saying that the cross made the final announcement about how I love you. And those who are disconnected, I prioritize in my heart because I want them to be connected. And you know this is true, especially if you're a Christian, because that's what happened for you. You felt prioritized. You felt like Jesus died for you, that he resurrected from the grave for you, that Jesus is for you. You have moments maybe where you sit in this room or you watch online and you feel like nobody else is in the room because God is speaking to you. Because Jesus prioritizes the disconnected because he wants them to be connected. The reason why Jesus spent more time with the disconnected is because they were disconnected. He didn't spend time with them to condone their behavior and to say what they were doing was okay. Jesus spent time with them because they liked him and he liked them. And his love covers a multitude of sins and he wants to see them connected. He longs for their love and he longs for a relationship with them. And what's true of Jesus must be true of us. If we call ourselves Christians and we call ourselves the church. And this is one of the reasons why when we celebrate things, one of the things that we always raise to the very top of our celebration list is baptism. We celebrate baptism around here, not because baptism saves you, not because this is the salvation moment. The salvation moment is when Jesus died and resurrected and a person says, I trust in that, I believe in that, I believe Jesus. You know what this moment is? It's the moment where we were watching the road and they made a choice to get in the water and say, I was disconnected and now I want to be connected again. I was lost and I want to be found. I was dead and I want to be alive. The reason why we celebrate that is because it's people coming home. That's why we talk about it all the time. Because our leaning is always to us and to the 99. But if we really want to live in the rhythm of the heart of God, if we want to live in the stirring of the heart of God, he prioritizes the one lost thing over lots of unlost things. God prioritizes lost over found because what's lost must be found. Are you with me? Now think about how God must feel, what God thinks about when that person is disconnected. Someone he loves and cherishes and cares for, died for, resurrected for. And then think about when you lost something of value to you and nobody was looking for it. Have you ever lost something of great value and nobody was looking for it? And how you felt like you're the only one searching for this thing. You're the only one that this matters to. You're the only one that is feeling the anxiety. Like, this is necessary for us to find. We have to find this lost thing. Imagine the heart of God when he looks at the people of God. And we've prioritized the 99 unlost things over the one lost thing. Church, may we be a church that prioritizes the one lost thing over the 99. In fact, let's make it the habit of our lives to keep our eyes on the road. Let's make it the habit of our lives to celebrate when somebody chooses to move from being disconnected to being connected. Let's make it the habit of our lives to ask God, what stirs your heart? And may I walk in that rhythm. May I walk on that path. And may I live in that way. There's a lot of good things that we can do, and those are good things. But we want to be a group of people that keep in step with the heart of Jesus. And that we would prioritize the one lost thing over the 99. And we would do everything we can up to the line of sin so that that disconnected person would find their way home. And the reason why it stirs my heart is because it's easy to be self-righteous. It's easy to say, this is about me. It's easy to say, what do I get out of this? But I'm so thankful that at the age of 8, I moved from being disconnected to being connected. And I'm so thankful that for many of you, whatever age you were, however long it's been, or however short it's been, that there are people in this room and watching online that can say, because God prioritized the one over the 99, I find myself sitting in this chair today. And I'm thankful for the names that go across my mind that brought me to this place today. And maybe you're thankful for those names. And maybe today you invited one of those names and you're going, oh gosh, Mike, I invited one of those people and now you're talking about those people. I hope this isn't uncomfortable for them. Can I speak to you? If you said yes to an invitation today, I just want you to know that you matter. That's why you were invited. And we'll move at your speed. But we just believe that the best way to live is following Jesus. And you need to know that God prioritizes you, that you matter to God, and that he wants you to move from a disconnection to a reconnection or a first-time connection, that he is a God that doesn't want you to stay lost, that he is a God who wants you to be found. So church, let's make it the habit of our lives to keep our eyes on the road. I want to invite you to stand with me. Would you stand, please? We're going to sing in just a minute. But just to keep our eyes on the road and to remind us of the work that God has done in this place and through you and in you, I want you to see some stories of lives that were disconnected and they made their way back home. check out the screen.
Church, we've seen God do so many different things in our community. We've seen Him turn around lives. We've seen Him make moments like this change people. You know, we get to be part of that. We get to continue to move as God moves in our lives. We get to continue to experience the thing that He's doing new in us. We take a moment and we look
just see that He's moving, that He's doing something new in this place. It's awesome. See, and I will see the new thing that you're making of me. You're making of me, and I will see the new thing that you're making of me. You're making of me. So I'll live highs and lows, yet I will trust in this. Well, come on, let's declare it in this place. That the love of Jesus stands as true as this day. Sing it out, you will move. You will move this mountain as you're moving in me. You're moving in me. You will move this mountain as you're moving in me. You're moving in me. I will see the Jesus, you're making of me. You're making of me. And I will see the beauty. You're making of me. You're making of me. Come on, let's give God praise this morning. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. How was that worship experience right now? It was so intimate and beautiful. I love that. I love that energy. Thank you so much for your time, guys. My name is Desiree. I'm your social media strategist here at Active.
And I'm Heidi, one of the pastors here.
We just want to take this moment, with this intimate setting just after worship, just want to share a little bit about what we got to experience 2 weeks ago out in Baja, Mexico. Myself and Heidi had an opportunity to go to Niños de Baja Orphanage and be a part of an amazing experience. Would you guys direct your attention to the screen to see what it is we got to be a part of? it just got real. Watching it back is bringing back all these emotions for me, so bear with me if I begin to cry. Heidi and I, along with 18 other active family members that are sitting in the seats beside you, if you've seen any of their faces on the screen, ask us how the experience was. We'll probably bawl our eyes out. We are the 99. I'm gonna cry. And we're about reaching the 1. And while being there in Mexico, the stories of these kids, and from ages from 1 to 14 was the oldest. Their circumstances of where they're at and their experiences they're heavy. They're heavy on their heart. And we had the opportunity to step into the world of Niños de Bajas, get to know these kids, know their stories, how they got there, what their family life was like before they entered into the orphanage. While there was a young lady, oh my gosh, my voice is shaking, by the name of Ana. And I'm Latina, everybody knows that. And there's a big thing in Hispanic culture that we do for the becoming of a woman, and it's having a quinceañera. Now, this young girl named Ana and her little sister Rosalinda, who was 8, Ana being 14, have been in the orphanage for 6 years. Over there, you can't just adopt one. If they're siblings, you have to adopt all of them. So in result, some families don't want to adopt a family of 4 or 5 siblings, so they just find the one that's in the orphanage, and it leaves these kids there for years after years. Ana was 14, and she's been there for 6 years, and the number one thing that was on her heart, she didn't have her parents, but was to have a quinceañera. And that really tugged at my heart, because getting to meet her, look her in the eyes, and to ask her, what is it that you do on a daily? What is it that you look forward to? And she said, I've been here for 6 years, and my dream gets to come true. And the community here in Baja, Mexico at this orphanage, and your community back at home in Yucaipa have made it possible for me to have a quinceañera. And that's a huge thing in Hispanic culture, guys. It's huge. The becoming of a young lady into a woman is a big celebration. Just to know that one story, a 14-year-old girl being able to get a dress, have a cake, and to be able to have her 15th birthday with the staff members who they reference as their aunts and uncles, and in Spanish it's tío and tías. So over there we were tías, the rest of the team was tíos. We got to be a part of their family and enter into their world.
Yeah, Ana made a big impact on all of us. Myself and my 16-year-old. It was an amazing trip, and I hope you guys want to go next time. Right now, we want to pause for a moment and give back. We want to give back, which God's word calls tithe. Tithe literally means 10% of all that God has gifted you with. And so, we want to tithe today, but more than that, we want to tell a better story for Active. We want to raise $160,000 above our normal tithe to put back into Active. There's so many things that we want to do with it, including a kids playground for our campus right here. We wanted to continue to provide hope and search out that one, just like we did in Mexico. We want to add to our tech, which is much needed around here. And we need to pour into opening our Redlands location in the fall. Right. Just super exciting, you guys. Mm-hmm. There are 4 ways to give. One of them is going to be when the leaders bring the buckets down in just a few minutes. You can give online, you can give on the kiosks that are in the lobby, and then you can also do text to give, which if this is your first time doing it, there's a number on the screen, and you can literally text give to that number, and it'll run you through a little process to set it up. But if you've done it before, all you need to do is text the amount that you're wanting to give today or any day in the future. But if you want to help us get to that $160,000 goal, if you want to be all in for Active Church, grab one of these all-in cards. It's in the seat back in front of you. Today, you can pledge to give money, you can promise to give money, or you can just give today through our offering. Leaders, if you would come forward and pass the buckets. Active Church. We are so glad that you are here today. We want to invite you back next week, and we want to encourage you to invite next week because it is Superhero Sunday. You guys, we're going to have Spider-Man here, maybe a couple other characters, and it might be because there's a small little movie opening called The Avengers, whatever. It's going to be Superhero Sunday. It's going to be great. We encourage you to dress up in your favorite superhero gear. Make sure the kids are all decked out as we're going to party and have a great time in the kids area. So we're so glad you're here today. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.